Good morning. This is Carl Dakin, and this is the Successful Funding Show. In this show, we talk about raising funding primarily for small businesses, startups, but also including community programs, anything that a government agency may do to help out a local project, charitable campaigns. Because at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff is the same, meaning that our job is to get somebody else to give us money for some reason. And in exchange, the person who's making the investment has to get something of value, something with enough belief and hope behind it that they will take their hard earned money and point it in this particular direction. And this is what we're going to be talking about this morning. I have with me as my guest again, Michael Feely, who's the CEO of Citizen Sports. We're going to be using in our discussion this morning a current live capital campaign that we are both engaged in for the Renaissance League, which is a female rugby sports organization that we are getting off the ground. But we're going to be focusing more on the customer as an investor, which is not the topic of our current campaign, but the one that we are planning for later this year. And why would a customer be an investor? What would cause them to tip over and wear another hat, put money at risk with an organization and go down that path? And this is a question that I think is key to investment crowdfunding. I was a speaker in the Super Crowd 25 National Conference on Investment Crowdfunding the week before last. And it's a topic of concern to me or debate in that investment crowdfunding, in my mind, is a relatively unknown, untapped way for businesses, particularly small businesses, to raise funding. But in my opinion, too much of the attention continues to try to focus these campaigns on angel investors, wealthy individuals, and not on people for whom the Investment Crowdfunding Act was passed. The Jobs Act was passed in 2012. Which is the everyday person who is a customer of a lot of different businesses. So we're trying to see if we can get everything to match up here, get higher efficiency, better results from that. So good morning, Michael. Thanks for being on the show. For people who don't know you, please share a little bit of information about yourself, and then tell us a little bit about Citizen Sports and its current work with the Renaissance League.
Thanks, Carl. Appreciate you having me back. My name's Mike Feely. I'm the CEO of Citizen Sports. We are a sports development organisation. Our primary focus is affordability and accessibility to sports for anyone that wants it, really. Economic sustainability being a key driver of how we're designing operations, making sure that not only can you offer participation affordably this year, but going forward in terms of making it more affordable, more accessible for people right now, but also then to future generations. And the Renaissance League is a demonstration of some of our concepts. One in particular is called the Sports Totality. It's an economic model that is supposed to be regenerative and recycle funding into scholarships or opportunities and access for those that can't normally afford participation fees. And a big part of that is around also then engaging sponsors and fans to spend money, invest, purchase, advocate, and so on. Everything around it is basically everything we've designed is repeatable and scalable, and the idea is that by connecting the grassroots to the top end of the sport, in this instance for Renaissance League it's women's rugby, we can lower costs, generate more revenue, and organise the pathway at the same time, so that if you are successful, if you are a good competitor, if you are a good athlete, you have the opportunity to progress for a sports career as well.
Yeah, so this points to the importance of fans as customers
Yep.
and the need to get fans engaged in as many ways as possible. So the primary model of the Renaissance League is intended to address the rising cost of participation in sports by youth. As the Aspen Institute has shown in their studies, the cost has gone up dramatically, over 45% in the last 5 years. And as you would expect, as money and prices go up, fewer and fewer people can afford to participate in sports. And so we've seen a decline in youth participation going down year after year for a long time now. It's a long-going trend. And this is bad for so many reasons. Almost anybody you would talk to would tell you that sports is good. And then if you try to drill down on that, what that means is part of it is if you play a sport, it's good for your health. If you participate in a sport, you may learn different skills and capabilities, including teamwork, and improve on your social skills while you're learning teamwork. And from a community standpoint, having kids engaged doing something productive, at least non-destructive, is a plus forward. And all these things may actually lead to a career where a youth entering sports may not become a professional athlete, although that's a statistically low possibility. It's still a possibility. More likely, though, there are all kinds of people who are employed in doing everything relative to sports, such as broadcasting, groundskeeping, setting up all the stadiums, selling tickets. It's a lot of different jobs in order to put an athlete on the field where they can be a form of entertainment for a fan. So the Renaissance League's primary focus, what's called fan-centric, is to have more fans. And these fans will buy memberships, they will buy merchandise when they're at games, they'll buy concessions, and all this revenue can create profits. And within the Renaissance League's application of the sports totality model, a portion of those profits are going to be peeled off from sales to fans and used to drive down the cost to the athletes. So the athletes will get a low price while fans will get market price. And this will allow more youth, actually more adults as well, to participate in a sport, which is good for everybody. And now we're back to where we'd like to be if we can get this all done. So we ordinarily, a business says, well, if you're a fan, I've got to make myself visible. I need to let you know what the benefits of being a customer are going to be. These benefits have to be great enough that you would purchase whatever product or service that is there. And these are all standard things every business has to do. But now we're asking the question, under what circumstances can we ask that same customer, in this case a fan, to put more money on the table, or to put money on the table today for benefits that they may not get for a period of time? So there's no instant gratification. This is a kind of a layaway type of activity. What can we do to invite a fan to become an investor? And this is the question that's on the table. We're currently working to put together a investment package for fans as customers, and trying to figure out what can go into that. How would we structure this in order to provide to this person a no-brainer situation where they look at it and go, the value is so great, I would be an idiot not to take advantage of the deal. Where their consumer skills, which have been honed over years and even decades, are all put to play, and they want to take action to get a hold of this deal and take benefit from it. So, Michael, as you're looking at a fan, and thinking of them as a person who ordinarily shows up at a game and cheers on their team, what do they get from that experience that might be elevated if they're also wearing the hat of an investor?
Good question.
Yeah, I wanted you to answer instead of me, so I'm going to toss it to you.
There's a couple of elements to this, and one example. Well, first, a couple elements. So, one, the customer wants value for money. Okay, they don't want to feel like they're getting ripped off. They want to feel like they're having a good time. You might say being entertained, that's not the be all and end all for everyone, but it's being able to go and do something that's worth the time, worth the money, worth the effort. In particular, fans want to associate with other fans. They want to be part of a community. They want to celebrate the victory as if it's theirs, just as much as they'll commiserate the loss as if it's theirs. The same as the players on the field. And that's true of any sport. That's not just rugby. The second part of it is that they want to feel included. They want to be actively involved, actively participating in that. So to some extent, just going to a game is being actively involved, because you're there, you're making noise, you're cheering, you're spending money, you're supporting, and so on. So all the normal sort of elements to it. But then if you take that second piece, where being involved or what makes it more interesting and more exciting, you would say skin in the game. That's where sports betting is huge. People actively sort of, test their own wit, test their own skill, test their own knowledge of sports. They gamble on it. There's a stake there, and if they're correct, they win. And that's its own adrenaline rush. That's its own hit of dopamine. And ultimately, it's a level more exciting, say, because they've got skin in the game. If you're taking that from a sort of 30,000 foot view and stepping back, skin in the game instead of just betting on the outcome or a result or a play, investment could be one option. You are actively involved in pursuing the success of that business because it will benefit you. In terms of getting them to sign up initially, that could be, whatever the price of investment is, that there's a matching amount of discounts, giveaways, freebies, coupons, other benefits. That really you make sure that the value or the price that you're asking for that investment is not seen as too high or not worth the money. So it goes back to the first point. It's the same there, where it's value for money, and over time it repays. So it's not just the instant part of, okay, if you sign up as a fan, you get this discount, you get this jersey, you get this offering, but that also compounds over time, because when you renew, or when you purchase more, whether it's tickets, whether it's concessions, merchandise, or travel, whatever, you then get, for example, for us, so 10% saving or 10% discount on products. Over time, that all adds up, so that $100 is saving you. Say it's $100. That $100 is saving you $500, $600, $700, $800. That is worth it in itself. But then also to be actively involved and participating in the ownership and development of the league, you can take it another step further. Where, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but where those fans are actively advocating. We talked about an affiliate model where because sponsors are a kind of fan, or just regular old fans like me and you, we could be affiliated and earn commissions. So not only do we make that investment and then control whether we can earn that money back on top of all the savings and benefits and all the other good stuff, but there's an opportunity to earn money there as well. I don't know any league currently, apart from when people are scalping tickets in the resale market, I don't know where as a fan you're offered the opportunity to participate in the economic system and generate your own revenue.
Yeah, so we've got several different ways that we can come at this, and I'm going to start with the concept of being a stockholder, where you're more than a stakeholder. This is a distinction that is often drawn where a stakeholder, you have an interest in the outcome of a sports team or a business or something along that line, but you really have little or no capability of influencing the benefit to you or causing anything to change. And what we have seen with a lot of the sports professional teams is that they have little or no fan engagement, meaning that they treat the fan as though there's an expectation the fan is going to show up and pay any amount of money for tickets, merchandise, and whatever, and that's okay. Because they're in somehow way entitled to that because they've invested in the team, in the players, and everything that goes along with that. But they treat the fan as a passive participant in all of that. And in today's world, that's not necessarily workable any longer. And it's interesting because that there's a parallel, unfortunately, in raising funding, where too often a business will go out and say, give me money, and then disappear. I'm going to use your money to do whatever it is I think should be done, however I think should be done. And no, you don't have a voice. No, you don't get to participate. And I basically want you to stay out of my way. And a lot of businesses, take the attitude that investors are an unhappy nuisance, or, where we have to have them, but we don't want them interfering with anything we're going to do. So I see the same thing with professional sports teams who seem to think that they're entitled to fans, they're entitled to the money of the fans, and no matter what price tag they put on anything associated with being a fan, that's okay. There was a price hike this last week by the Denver Nuggets, which is a Kroenke organization, not to pick on them, but to use them as an illustration where they raise their ticket prices. If you come into the arena and whichever name, I can't remember which one it is at the moment.
Ball Arena.
Pardon?
The Ball Arena.
Is it Ball Arena this week? Okay, so anyway, that's a sponsorship fee, and we're not talking about that today. That's another topic for another day. But the point is they raise ticket prices, and immediately a lot of fans go, I can't afford tickets any longer. There was a general response across the entire fan base of, you've just made it more of a sport for the wealthy, for the elite. And again, we see this parallels in raising funding. If you structure a deal, an offering, and you say the minimum investment is $25,000, how many people can step up to the bar and pay that price to invest in a business? And the general answer is it's less than 5-10% of the total population. That means you've cut out 90% of your potential investors. Whereas in investment crowdfunding, which we intend to pursue with regard to this second funding round of the Renaissance League, we're looking at a minimum investment of $100, something that should be generally affordable to almost everybody. And in that case, again, we're asking for investment, but if we tell them to give us money and go away, that's not going to quite have the appeal that we would like to see. And so even when you ask a customer to be an investor and you give them a good deal, and Michael walked through a number of different things that could be monetarily valuable to the investor in form of free product or discounts or other things along that line, the ability to have some input, some influence, to feel like you are part of the overall business team is a very different feeling, and it's something that most businesses fail to consider, fail to implement if they do consider it. And yet that means that the customer feels like they can go anywhere, anytime. They're not important enough that the business is going to give them a voice. Well, then the next time they go to purchase something, they can buy from someone else, and they will. And we see that, in the Renaissance League, which is aimed at female rugby as a sports organization, we have to recognize there are dozens of other sports that a person as an individual could choose to be a fan of that sport instead of this particular sport and this organization. And so competition has to be met. You have to give the fans something more, something of value, something that they can appreciate. And it has to be real. It can't be all spin and no substance. So I do think that allowing a fan, a customer, to become a stockholder is important. But then we get into the question of how can a fan be engaged, which is the word we're using, to allow them to participate in and influence the ongoing operation of this sports organization. And we think that there are several ways to do that. But again, I'm going to toss the hard question to Mike and let him start to answer, and then I'll chip in if he doesn't cover everything.
Thanks. Okay, well, you're talking about value proposition. So value is subjective and relative. So if you are, say your kid plays flag football, the value proposition of flag football, forget the costs of the equipment and the coaching and the thing for now, like your dues. Part of the value proposition of growing up playing football is there's a potential career in the NFL. The same is true of, say, women's soccer and scholarships at college and so on. So there's those layers to it, and that's where it's relative in terms of what age group, what part of the athletic journey is it, and so on. But that's primarily focused on young athletes and the parents of those young athletes. If we're talking about just general participation of me being an athlete or a fan, say my wife played rugby, that she's the athlete but I'm the fan, what's the value proposition if I go and show up? Am I able to, are there restrooms? Is the facility good? Are there concessions? Can I buy merchandise? What kind of entertainment is going on around it? Is there any event or activity that's there to engage the fans beyond what's just going on the pitch and so on? So again, it's a bit of a mixed bag really, but ultimately it comes down to value proposition and what we can do to create real opportunities within whatever system we put in place. Again, it comes back to, is it saving money? Is it better value for money? So, here's the other thing. It's not, cheap isn't the same as best value. So we can go and be as cheap as you want, but then it's not good value and people don't really want it. Trying to think else in my notes. Oh, yeah, here was the other thing that you said about when you use the Kroenkes as an example, but they own SoFi. They already priced out a lot of their regular fans. They built that stadium specifically with, I think, the most corporate boxes of any stadium in the US. You can see this trend going on in sport in general, and I've said this in the past, but at some point the fans, like you said there, and they're going to say, well, I can't afford this anymore. And it's not that they can't afford it, it's just that the value proposition has changed so much relative to what they could afford and what they thought it was worth, that now it's going to cost this much. The value proposition is, well, no, it's not worth it. Things like that are particularly important in economic downturns, recessions. Food, clothing and shelter are the priority. Entertainment is fourth on the list at best.
Yeah, I mean, let's get to that a little bit. Going way back in the Wayback Machine, which is a cartoon series that most people have never heard of. So Rocky and Bullwinkle, but nonetheless, in economics class, we were taught about what's called price elasticity, which is if you increase the price of your product by 10%, will everyone continue to pay the price increase? A question that Trump's tariffs are currently placing in front of everybody. And if you increase it by 20%, will they still hang in there, or are you going to start losing customers? And at some point, the sports organizations have, taken the attitude that I can increase prices always. There's no resistance to that. And there's enough wealthy people who can continue to afford to pay the prices that I am no longer concerned or care about filling my stadium with fans who are not wealthy. It's part of the class warfare, all the other issues, titles, labels, buzzwords we want to use. And to some degree, they may be correct in that. I mean, from a business model, if you can charge more, you're supposed to charge more, you're supposed to go that. But right now, we believe that these constant price increases in tickets for different sports teams has gone too far. That somehow in chasing the need to pay for all the athletes and everything else associated with the game, that they have lost touch with their fan base, and because of that, they're going to see declining fan participation in anything, whether it's buying merchandise or buying tickets or somehow otherwise being engaged. And so as a result of that, fans are going to jump. They're like anybody who's now shopping around going, well, I used to pay so much for season tickets for XYZ sport, and now I'm going to buy season tickets for ABC sport because they're cheaper. I get better service. I get a voice. I get all these other things. These are all attributes of being a fan that are mostly absent or so little as to be inconsequential when it comes to most sports. So the Renaissance League is looking at the fan and saying fan-centric with meaning, not simply a label, and asking what does that mean? And one of the hard, difficult, subjective things to value is the concept of being a stockholder. And so I'm going to dwell on that just here a little bit and go, how can a fan have a voice in the operation of a sports organization? And do they get to set prices? Do they get to pick the players on the pro teams? How can they go about doing that? And there is a point where you have to leave some of the management decisions to the experts. But there are other places where you can ask the fans point blank, how can we make this a more enjoyable experience? It may be something that seems inconsequential, but what's the names for each of the tribes, in this case, the teams that are going to be put on the field? What color should their uniforms be? If we're going to sell merchandise, do we get to pick what the fans want to wear, or can the fans pick what they want to wear? Ultimately, they can do that, but for a small sports organization, you can't have 50 kinds of jerseys. So we should start with those that the fans want to buy and will buy, and by giving them a chance to have a voice, to have input on a variety of things that are all about them and how they get to participate and enjoy the sport. Now they're acting like stockholders. They're being listened to. They're being responded to. There are communications going back and forth, just like you would if you took an investment into a company. You have annual reporting, and if you're really on the ball, you'll have weekly reporting to your investors, telling them what's going on, keeping them apprised of all the activities, and most importantly, inviting them to help out. So if you have a customer out there and you're going, wow, if I'm running a grocery store, I have a surplus of pumpkins sitting in my store. Well, you can sit and watch them rot, in the produce aisle, or you could send out a bulletin to your customers and go, hey, since you're one of our VIP customers, why don't we give you a deal where grab a pumpkin, we'll give you pumpkin soup recipes, pumpkin bread recipes, do something with these pumpkins and get them sold. And even though the margin may not be the same, or you even sold them at a loss, it's better than a complete write-off.
Yeah.
So what would be the equivalent for a fan? If I go to a fan today and I said, hey, I want to optimize your experience. I want you to think of us as the best sports organization in the world. Um, Aside from giving them freebies and discounts, monetary benefits, what else can we do to make the fan experience more enjoyable?
Well, there's lots of things really. It could be input in terms of what concessions are available, what food and beverages they like. Again, what you said, where there's what kind of merchandise is available. Do they want a certain type of baseball cap or a trucker cap or a flat peak cap? Some of that's just sort of basic. It's not really, it's kind of surface level engagement and input. But also then, if we're talking about when we move the tribes into their home base, what kind of input do the fans have in terms of where it's going to be located as a home city? What kind of input do the fans have in terms of once it's located in that home city, what's the design of the complex for community participation as well as the stadium? What programming, what training education goes into that? What kind of sponsorship goes into that? Anything you really want. But to be honest with you, there's so many touch points that where leagues or sports teams or businesses make decisions that they could just ask the fans. It doesn't matter if the fans give you the answer that you want or where you were leaning or whatever. It might be a wrong decision and you might not take the advice, but you've asked them. You've engaged that feedback in the first place. Just being involved and included in that sense is more valuable than just, we're going to do what we want. You don't matter. Just give us your money and do one.
Well, and I think that you point out another important aspect of that. You can ask a fan for their input. And then if you wholly ignore it, they may think that you're just basically shining them on. You weren't really taking their advice. If you listen to the advice and then you come back with another set of questions, which is you suggested it would be better if we had individual seats instead of bench seats in the stadium, then from that you can come back to them and go, well, we had an overwhelming response that they would like for us to replace all of the seats in the stadium with individual seats. Now, here's the cost associated with that to make this change. And we're willing to consider, investing money for that purpose. But is that something, now that you understand the cost, is that, that's going to impact your ticket price by 10 cents or a quarter? Do you want to make that decision, yes or no? Bring it down to economics. Or you might say, well, we're looking at putting in individual seating. We can use aluminum, which will be cold on a cold day and hot on a hot day, or we can use plastic. Which would you prefer? Do you want to have the seats colored by different teams or tribes? You can ask them for different things like that. And the more they see their input being implemented, the more that it's a true dialogue and not we sent out a survey and we ignored all our surveys. We actually just send it out. We don't even read them anymore. And a lot of things like that. So I think it's very important as a business goes about trying to figure out how to get fans engaged, is to look at every possible way that they can communicate out and get feedback, and then engage in a dialogue, something where fans are seeing active responses to their input all along the way. And the more that they're able to do that, then the more that they feel like they are part of a team. In the same way that the lowest paid employee of a business, do they have a voice in the way the business operates? If they don't, then they, like everyone else, are thinking to themselves, well, I'm getting paid so much an hour. If I go work for another business and I get paid the same amount, I probably am not going to jump, from one job to the next. But if in the next one they listen to me and they respect me, all the surveys of employees say respect of the employee is the number one thing, more than wages, more than anything else, is that they're being appreciated. And so same thing for investors, same thing for customers. When you talk customer appreciation, it's got to be more than spend. It's got to be something that they can see, track, and feel, and know that it's all there. Michael, you talked about engagement. We're giving fans by investment a chance to build wealth, and people who are Joe and Sally, everybody, building wealth is an important issue for them. When they make an investment, they quite commonly don't have a savings account or money set aside for what we would classically call an investment. And so putting money into something like this becomes more of a consumer decision, which is, am I saving money? Am I buying something I would have bought anyway? But I'm going to buy this now. I'm going to put money up front, so to speak, and get benefits over time. That's a monetary benefit from free product or price discounts. They can put a price tag on that, and that's important. And at the same time, though, there is an equity component within the framework of the investment. And so the Renaissance League is going to be using a revenue sharing arrangement where 10 cents on every dollar is going into a pool to be distributed to all the investors as they come on board over time. So if the Renaissance League prospers, if it's highly profitable, if it's selling a lot of merchandise, it can do that. And the fans who invest will get to participate in that. So they're like thinking to themselves, well, I have part of the pool, and every time I buy some merchandise or buy a ticket, part of that's coming back to me. So it could be considered net a discount, but it's a way for them to make money over time, and then they have the ability to sell their revenue share agreement to someone else. And by doing that, they may get a higher price than they paid for it. Even after getting free product and discounts and everything else, they still may get all their money back, which puts them net ahead. But if they can sell at a higher price, then they're building wealth in that fashion. Now, this is a big thing because, again, building wealth in $100 increments is not generally considered a viable approach to doing that. But there's a lot of people out there that have come up with strategies, investment strategies like Devin Thorpe with the Cherub Club and Supercrowd, who says you should invest $100 a month into a small business, preferably one in your backyard, a local business that you know and which you may be a customer of. And if you do $100 a month over time, he projects that you'll make a greater rate of return by doing that than if you invest in a Wall Street stock. And he's got statistics and everything to go along with it. And that's without consideration of the possibility that you got free product or you got discounts on future purchases, which can virtually assure you a much, much higher rate of return on that investment versus a Wall Street investment through your pension plan, 401k, or anything along that line. So you can build wealth that way. But Michael, you mentioned one of the other things, which is going out and being an advocate, going out, acting as a sales affiliate. Tell us a little bit more about that and how that can also contribute to the wealth of a customer as a fan.
Excuse me. So if you are a member of the fan club, for example, and you can get more people to sign up, and they use your link, QR code, or whatever, it's the same. It's any sort of affiliate sales model. But basically, if I'm a fan and I sign up, and then I get you to sign up, I earn a commission on your sign-up fee. The same thing being said for if you buy any merchandise or travel or get whatever. If it's something that's going on that I'm directly involved in terms of getting you to sign up and purchase that product, then I will earn a commission, and that's basically unlimited. Like if it made me think back to about 15 years ago. My friends and I went to a rugby match at the Stoop, which is Harlequins in the men's Premiership in England. And one of my friends organised it, and about 30 of us went. And he could have made money on that just being a sales affiliate, because he sold 29 other tickets, and that would have paid for his ticket. The tickets weren't expensive, but it would have also paid for all the beer that he drank that day, which was a lot. He probably would have come out of it ahead. And actually then, like, going to do an event like that, going to do something you're going to enjoy, now becomes profitable rather than expensive. You know, I did a podcast a few years ago, and we were talking about what it costs to go to watch England at Twickenham, and taking your family, and if you want to take your kids, and the price of the tickets, the price of the trains to get there, which that's a different conversation, but Transport for London has put the money up. I was back there in January, and the prices have definitely gone up. But you know, instead of £300, £400 or $400-500 down, you now might walk out of it $100 ahead. That's a complete 180 on what actually being a fan is at the moment. I don't know, like I said, I don't know any league where you can actually make money by being a fan other than if you're scalping tickets. And you made me think, when I was in Toronto a couple of weeks ago, just on the price of things, some friends of mine, there was about a dozen of them around the table, and they were splitting up their tickets for the Maple Leafs. And it was a friend of mine that inherited them basically from his father-in-law. He didn't want to go anymore, couldn't afford to. But there's like a dozen executives, and they're either retired or still got their own company or just sold their company and stuff like that. They're all worth some money, and even they can't afford to go to every game. They're picking a dozen games because it's just too expensive and not worth it. Even for them, the value proposition was not high enough to say, yeah, we're going to go to every game. So, you know, it's not even just people that are being cheap. It's people you would ordinarily expect could afford to go that won't, because it just doesn't line up anymore.
Yeah, so the current proposed program is that becoming a member of one of the fan clubs will probably cost about $25.
Yeah.
But if you become a sales affiliate and you recruit other people to become fans, we're talking about a 10% commission on merchandise and a 20% commission on fan club memberships. So if you sell 5 more fan club memberships, you've paid for your own membership.
Yep.
If you sell half a dozen jerseys, you've put money in your pocket after everything else. And this can become a side hustle in our gig economy, where you're going, yeah, I've got my day job, 8 to 5 or whatever it happens to be. If you're an entrepreneur, it's 24/7, but again, another story. But here's a way. I'm a fan of a team, and I want all my friends to also be fans, because I like to hang out with my friends while we watch a sporting event. And if I can put this all together and get them all to become fans, then I've paid for some of my expense. But if I can get other people to join, this is like any other sales organization that's out there, whether it's multi-level or network marketing, you can make a little extra money. And that money, as Michael pointed out, could pay for your tickets, it could pay for your transportation, it could pay for your beverages while you're enjoying that particular sport. And that's a good thing. And that's back again within the household economy, not the wealthy person economy, because it's still affordable. At this point, if we get a single person to be a customer, a fan, and an investor in the Renaissance League, and we get them to be a sales affiliate, we've achieved what I call the trifecta, meaning that instead of an organization going out and spending so much money over here to recruit and sell fans, and so much money over here to recruit and sell investors, and so much money over here to go out and sell merchandise and tickets, we have, in a single relationship, enabled somebody to do all 3 of these.
Yes.
Which means that we've saved our operating budget, our marketing budget, our capital raising budget are all synchronized together. which makes us a much more efficient organization than somebody who's spending money going to 3 different groups and trying to get them all to come on board at the same time. Yeah, it's one of the challenges is getting people to understand that this is not like every other sports organization they've seen. Fans are number one, and appreciated and respected, have a voice, have a way to build wealth and actually earn money on the side. So anyway, we're coming up on a early, I'll call it early exit for today's program because Mike and I have to be on another call here at the top of the hour. So I wanted to basically, thank everybody for being in the audience today. This is a successful funding show. It's on every week on Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. Mountain Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And if you don't get enough information from this show, then you can also read a newsletter that I publish on LinkedIn called Instant Funding. And as we are in today's show, we're using the Renaissance League as a deep dive, highly granular examination of capital campaigns from start to finish, getting into every nook and cranny about how to put one together, why they will work, why they may not work, and asking yourself, when you're out raising funding, are you doing everything you can possibly do to make that campaign a success? Or are you somehow waiting, hoping, wishing that you bought a lottery ticket for the Powerball today, which is over $1 billion, and when you win that, then everything's taken care of? And this is unfortunately, I tell people this. I said, if you ask somebody to make $100 investment in your organization, as low as that dollar amount may appear to a lot of people will go, yeah, but I'm only going to get so much benefit out of it, and benefit to value. I can go buy a lottery ticket. I might win $1 billion. So where do you think the money's going to go? It's a competitor. If you think of everyone on the street, everyone you meet as an investor candidate, also consider that they're being asked from multiple sources for the same money that you're asking for, and it's only going to go so far. So put together a great package. Think of your customers as investor candidates. Think how you can bring greater monetary, non-monetary, subjective, objective information to play to tell your story, and it should get you where you want to go. So with that, Michael, thanks for being a guest on the show today. Thanks to everyone for listening in, and we'll see you next week